Which 95-year-old tradition has been changed by a 16-year-old girl in Kerala? Why does this matter? And how we are believing that diversity is not a weakening factor, rather a strengthening one for the democracy that we see in India. When we talk about India, most often than not, we also talk about unity in diversity. But we look at diversity only as a social reality, but in reality, it is much more than that. It is the main force for the sustenance of democracy in our country. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to talk about that how diversity is one of the main foundational pillars which supports democracy, and it has enabled the sustenance of democracy over the years, which has not found place in many countries who got independence at the same time as India did. So let us start with understanding what kind of diversity we are looking at when we are talking about India. India is often called world's largest democracy. But what makes it big is not just the number of voters, but also the sheer scale of diversity with it comes with. If we look at people, it is more than 1.4 billion people as of now, 22 official languages with many dialects around it, 2000 plus ethnic groups and multiple religions as well. And this diversity itself is what our democracy thrives on. अगर ये diversity जो है present नहीं होती, ये pluralism जो है present नहीं होता, तो शायद हमारी democracy जो है, जो इस वक्त thrive कर रही है, इतने सालों से thrive करते आई है, we have to take in consideration that since 1947, this diversity has not been a barrier, rather it has been a catalyst. एंड दिस प्लूरलिज्म डाइवर्सिटी जिसकी हम बात कर रहे हैं, ये हमें देखने के लिए मिलता है जहां कम्युनिटीज जो हैं पीसफुली कोएग्जिस्ट करती है. Yes, frictions are there, but there are beautiful examples where we have seen communities, where we have seen religions come together. And one very nice example has come across when we see that in Kerala, a 16-year-old Sabri got to perform Kathakali as Krishna, breaking a 95-year-old tradition. This is the picture of India, not just the symbolism, practice that we are seeing in real ethos, real time. And this is what we are going to discuss today, that how this diversity has been the fuel, has been the catalyst, and in which forms we have seen, and what are the examples across the globe where the lack of diversity has given different results. When we are talking about diversity, we also have to understand that this is the main thing that is reflecting how much India is capable to bring together the cultural groups, the religious groups, and gender diversity as well into one main national stream. And the main thing that should serve as a food for thought is that diversity strengthens social dialogue, it strengthens tolerance and also democratic resilience, which will be the main point of discussion here. So when we are talking about diversity and democracy, we can look at diversity and the unity that we started the conversation with in many forms. We have geographical unity, we have historical unity, but I would like to bring you to two major forces in terms of unity, that is cultural unity that we get to see and religious unity that we get to see. Now this is where we get to see the other side of diversity with special reference to our country, that is unity within it. So when I'm talking about cultural unity, we get to understand that there is a very strong thread of shared philosophy, values, literature and practices that bind people together. For example, when we are talking about cultural integration itself, be it Onam in Kerala, Durga Puja in Bengal or Garba in Gujarat, we get to see different people from different religious and cultural backgrounds coming together, celebrating it, showing harmonious coexistence which defines India. When we talk about regional unity, which is equally important, even though India has been home to Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Sikhism, Buddhism, Jainism and many more. The teachings of tolerance as well as solidarity are universally followed, which also lays a foundational basis. And furthermore, see the beauty of it, that our constitution goes ahead and institutionalizes this unity in real form, which ensures that people of different walks of life, different cultures, different religions can live, work and thrive together peacefully. एंड इस यूनिटी के एडवांटेजेस जो है हमें देखने के लिए मिलेंगे, दे आर ऑल्सो इक्वली प्रोफाउंड विच वी शुड लुक इनटू. फॉर एग्जांपल, व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट यूनिटी, let us get into the benefits that we enjoy of having this unity and diversity. The first thing that should come to your mind is the integration part as well, that it is the main fulcrum of harmony and brotherhood that exists in our nation despite all the differences and diversity that we have. Second, this very thing, the integration, the same coming under one huge umbrella, gives us the global recognition as well, which we are serving as a model where a diverse yet united democracy can thrive. We are a classic model, we are a case study in this scenario, because we are the largest democracy with such differences, with such diverse people. We are still thriving and we are getting to see peaceful coexistence. I am not denying that there are frictions, there are internal conflicts, but the broader idea here is to understand that how this unity exists around us. It has been institutionalized and the effect of it is in front of us. Apart from this, we also get to see that it also contributes directly to the economic output. How it gets to contribute to economic output? So when we are talking about regional strengths and resources, these are the ones, apart from just cultural or religious differences, the regional differences itself, they create a diversified space, and that gives a lot of resilience, not just to democratic principles but also to the growth. We also get to see tolerance and social cohesion. For example, whenever there is Ganpati festival in Maharashtra, it makes sure that it has a stop in front of the Haji Ali Dargah, and that marks the fact that how that we are so closely knitted, even though the yarns or the weaves that are being used are different. And this diversity directly fuels better outlook in terms of perspective, different cultural backgrounds, which also brings in creativity and progress. So the conversation which just started with how a 16-year-old girl is challenging the regional, the religious as well as the gender-based differences that we get to see, and that can be a mark of inclusivity, that performance that we have seen. So that is something that needs to be praised, because across the globe, many nations which got independence at the very same time have not been able to thrive because there was lack of diversity, there was more focus on majority, or bringing in a unilateral action where the democracy loses its very essence. For example, if we take the example of our neighbor, that is Pakistan, got independence with us itself, there was establishment of democracy, but the major failure was to integrate ethnic groups, and as a result we have seen number of military coups, and even till date when we are talking about Asim Munir, he seems to have a better stand than their own prime minister. So the democracy itself gets diluted. Furthermore, the breakdown of East Pakistan and emergence of Bangladesh is another way of showing that democracy cannot thrive when we are trying to suppress or we are trying to put everyone under the same blanket. Even at this time when Pakistan is existing in the name of democracy, the world knows that it is a weak democracy. Another example that we can take is Egypt. 1952 became republic after monarchy, but authoritarianism as well as sidelining minorities led to a lot of unrest, and we get to see many cycles of dictatorship as well. The examples are not limited here. We also have other countries. For example, Indonesia, we have Myanmar, we have Sri Lanka. But the thing that you need to understand here is that there is a very simple common pattern, that if we are trying to exclude diversity And if it is not institutionalized, like we have institutionalized unity in our constitution, the institutions are weak, then the democracy cannot be stable. And that will show that how India stands different. India with federalism, linguistic states, secularism, it is managing diversity as well as sustaining diversity, where democracy remains the main catalyst, main fuel, so that it ensures that this democracy or the democratic principles are not compromised. So when we are talking about that diversity is sustaining democracy, let us understand that as well. When we are talking about diversity and pluralism, it directly promotes dialogue, that means communicating and coming to a middle ground, which is very much required when we are dealing with such diverse groups of people. Furthermore, representation is something very important. If we are talking about not sidelining, if we have to promote the diversity, we actually are happy about it, we want to bring unity towards it, we would want everybody on the table. So representation will go out in multiple forms. It will go at governance level, it will go at the gender level, and this also facilitates bringing the weaker sections to the table as well, which has been present in India. And this diversity serves as a direct resilience against any sort of authoritarianism, because if one group is trying to achieve a certain different goal, then there are multiple groups which can voice that, which can talk about, and these are the basic fundamentals of democracy. So diversity is directly promoting democracy here, and this is how we get to see that India has endured and has existed as a democracy when many other republics which took birth at the very same time as independent nations did not work. So the main stabilizer that we get to see is the culture. Art forms like Kathakali, festivals, language, they are the main stabilizers that work as a bridge and eliminate the social differences that exist across the nation. And when we are talking about bridges, this is what exactly Kathakali served as a medium, where Sabri was able to perform and change the almost a century long tradition. So when we are talking about Kathakali, let us dive into the historical background where it comes from. It is a 17th century Kerala classical dance drama in which you get to see that there is combination of storytelling, music, costumes and mudras. Now when we are talking about Kathakali, initially it was only performed by males. Gradually there was involvement of female performers as well, and majorly there was only performance of stories of Mahabharata, Ramayana as well as Purans. So when we are talking about Kathakali as a classical dance drama, we also get to see that it has performed and it has been serving as the medium of moral as well as ethical education, no matter which religion it is coming from, and it is helping to bridge the social divide that we have seen. And it is also a vehicle of evolution that we are seeing, because it is coming with inclusion of not just women but women from other religions as well. So it is also enhancing the social cultural integration that we get to see. So the traditions evolving without losing heritage, they are nothing but a direct representation of democratic principles existing in real everyday cultural life present in front of us, and that calls for definite appreciation. And this is why we started with the conversation that why diversity is the lifeline of democracy that we see in our country, because India demonstrates that diversity, it demonstrates that pluralism, which is a strengthening factor for democracy, not weakening. It is not a barrier, it is rather a facilitator. It brings together, it is integration of minorities, genders, cultures, and that is why strengthens the democratic principles. And as compared to, if you take a global reference, you have seen, we have just talked about nations which have ignored the diversity, which have not understood the essence of it, and they have faced instability and authoritarian risks as well. So we get to see here that this performance of Sabri, a 16-year-old girl, is a huge symbol and a huge time where we get to see the synergy of culture and democracy, where we are celebrating differences which are the main fulcrum point of unity and democracy that we get to see in our country. Now that was all from my side. Thank you so much.